Hello and welcome back to the second episode of the Fighters Guild questline in Oblivion. The story so far has us, a budding Fighters Guild recruit, become a more seasoned contract mercenary for hire, as we aid the local guild halls in everything from exterminating rats to more noteworthy tasks. However, along the way, we learn of a second, cheaper, more nefarious emerging competitor that's muscling in on contracts. Worse yet, they have also been poaching recruits. As the guild leader, Valena Donton, becomes more and more complacent after the death of her son, Vitalis, it falls on our handler, Fighters Guild champion, Modron O'Rain, to keep the guild moving forward. Unfortunately, drastic times call for drastic measures, and O'Rain's desperation starts to show, as his attempts to return the guild to its former glory has dire consequences. To begin the quest as Azani Blackheart, we see Modron O'Rain back at the Coral Fighters Guild, and upon seeing our vacant smile, he sarcastically appraises.
You look like a bright one.
Modron?
What?
I'm here for duties.
I've got something for you, but we're not going to talk about it here. I want you to meet me at my house after sundown. We'll talk more then.
But I need duties now for drink money.
We'll talk later. Meet me at my house after dark. Later.
Tight-lipped, O'Rain then promptly hits the street, and we follow after him.
How goes it?
Stopping the Dunmer, he questions.
I said we'd speak later. What do you need?
I need duty... never mind.
Later.
Following O'Rain to his home, we note in our journal, I went to Modron O'Rain to ask about duties, but he told me he had no official duties. However, he has asked me to meet him at his house later tonight.
Fine greetings to you.
Heading to the southern side of the city, we find O'Rain's modest abode. O'Rain expectantly awaits our arrival. We then see over the Dark Elf's armoured shoulder an easel. Who would have thought such a gruff warrior had a more sensitive and artistic side? Putting the thought aside, he then gets down to business.
Good, you're here. We've got duties to attend to.
Yeah, you were saying something earlier about the Blackwood Company, right?
I've been looking into them, heard some disturbing things. We know they're a danger to us, and we know they're good at what they do.
How can they be good at what they do? A bunch of beast folk standing around taking contracts for cheap and recruiting Maglir. You gotta be desperate. Wait, why are they so effective?
Good question. I've heard stories, but nothing I can prove is true. Maybe they've got a mage working with them. Maybe they're just well trained. All I know for sure is that they'll accept any contract, and they'll do anything to complete it. And they don't care who gets in the way.
A mage? I knew it. Why haven't we stopped them?
Valena's gotten tentative since the Blackheart mission. She's worried about getting us killed. But we're just getting killed a little bit at a time.
Blackheart? Everybody talks about it. Azani Blackheart this, Azani Blackheart that. Seems you didn't have a problem till Azani Blackheart showed up. What happened?
That mission was the start of it. That was when Vitalis was killed. We were contracted by a wizard, Argoth, to recover an artifact from Blackheart. I went in there with 20 men. I left with 5. Vitalis wasn't one of them. He died covering our retreat.
So one of the Donton boys was killed. What does this have to do with the Blackwood Company?
I snooped around. Apparently, they completed that contract for us. I went in there with 20 good men. I can't believe that bunch finished the job. There's more. Argoth, he's dead. The artifact gone. Sounds like a setup. Maybe they made a deal with Blackheart. I don't know. But I'll find out.
Killed the mage? I thought they were keeping him in a cage, using his dark powers for... So what now?
Now we find out what really happened. and we let it be known. I want to show the people who the Blackwood Company really are. I can't order you to do this with me. It's dangerous, and Velena isn't going to know about it. It's your choice.
We then have two choices. Now, obviously, we're going to attempt the mission with Modron. However, I would be remiss if we didn't explore the dialogue. So first, we can say, sorry, Modron. I don't really want to tangle with some black art guy. Nor a mage, nor a potential caged mage. I'd rather get paid for beer money. You understand, it's about the contracts.
I'm sorry to hear that. Sooner or later, the contracts are going to dry up. Maybe then you'll reconsider.
A quest would then update. I met Modron Orain at his house as he requested. He told me a story about Azani Blackheart, Vitalis Daunton's death, and the Blackwood Company's current involvement. He would like me to go with him now to find out what really happened, though I've told Orain that I will not accompany him in investigating how the Blackwood Company fulfilled the Azani Blackheart contract. Otherwise, turning to Orain, he questions,
Have you changed your mind about helping me?
You know what? We are going to run out of contracts at this rate. Maybe Velena will start giving out more work if we find who killed her son. I'm in.
We leave as soon as you're ready. I want to investigate Blackheart's stronghold in Arpenia. Meet me at the Leowen Guild Hall. We'll go from there.
What are we going to do when we find the guy?
We need to find out what happened with him. It's all suspicious to me. Let's go.
Exiting Orain's shack, we then depart for the soggy city of Leowen. Once inside the Fighters Guild Hall to the south, we find Orain on the second floor, and he greets.
We need to check out Arpenia. Come on, I'll follow you.
As we move to depart the guild hall, we find Orain has allies locally, as we can overhear rumors within the guild.
Orion is in a foul mood lately. I think he's just about out of patience with Velena and the whole Blackwood Company situation. It sure sounds like the Blackwood Company double-crossed Argoth and helped Azani Blackheart murder him. Hard to prove it, though.
Riding north up the yellow road through the unrelenting mist, we can barely see 30 foot in front of us. Orain happens to keep pace behind our paint horse, and it's soon we see just off the main road, to the east, the remnants of an alien ruin sticking out the side of the hill. Approaching the entrance, Modron instructs.
Let's look around.
What is this place?
This is his stronghold, where the Blackwood Company supposedly defeated him. Something's not right here. Come on.
Knowing 20 men have fallen here, we cautiously enter. Once inside, Orain displays his combat prowess with his spiky mace. Descending further into an eastern corridor, we find a large, empty hall with a single rat meandering about. Watching the rat patrol, it unfortunately finds its untimely demise with a spiked trap jutting from the roof. Putting away our weapon, we soon discerned that the ruin seemed completely empty, abandoned even. And as we search the room, Orain approaches to confirm our suspicions.
Nothing. I knew it. Azani Blackheart isn't here, alive or dead.
Yeah, looks abandoned. What happened to Blackheart?
The bastards. There was no battle. Azani must have made a deal with the Blackwood Company. My guess is that they paid him off. They get the weapon for Argoth, collect the payment, and tell Azani where the mage is. Easy for Blackheart to retrieve the weapon and collect on it.
Well, one less mage to deal with. I'm sorry, what do we do now?
We find Blackheart and get that weapon. We'll finish this contract and let all of Cyrodiil know what happened here. Blackheart has a fascination with these Ayleid ruins. There's one northeast of here, Atatar. My bet is that he moved his base there. I'll lead. We'll show them.
Before we exit the ruins, if you're wondering if it's worth exploring Arpenia, apart from a few rats and Aeliad chests, it's mostly empty, save for the many traps that have been left behind thanks to the Aeliads, such as a dark Welkind stone.
May you rest in peace.
A swinging blade trap.
That's a real shame.
A falling blade trap.
May you rest in peace.
And of course the stone slab in the main hall, which pushes you into spikes and a rather gruesome death. Catching up to Modron outside, he turns to Hasten.
We don't have time to talk. I want to find Blackheart. What do you need?
Nothing, I'm just making sure we're gonna go find Blackheart, right?
We'll show them.
As Orain trudges through the soggy underbrush, we then find to the northwest as we head to the Yellow Road, a few bandits lie in wait, a sign of things to come.
Let's get this over with.
I'm on your side!
As we follow along, we note in our journal, we've searched the ruins of Arpenia and the place is deserted. There are no corpses, no signs of battle. Orain believes that the entire story was made up by the Blackwood Company, that perhaps they paid off Azani Blackheart to move his base of operations. Orain suggests we search nearby Aeliad ruins and knows of one to the northeast. It should quickly be noted that we have to stay within a few paces behind Orain, otherwise he will come to an abrupt halt, which is absolutely frustrating. The fact that there's no follow button like Red Dead Redemption, where if you have to follow somebody for a mission, you can automatically do so. This is not my favorite thing. Skulking around Leowin in a bog looking for some ruin, but, well, the things we do for payday and tavern time. As we make our way up the road, Orain unexpectedly darts into the underbrush, and we attempt to aid him in combat.
I'm on your side!
Embarrassed, we can't help but look at the arrow stuck in Orain's right wrist, secretly thinking to ourselves, we better cut down on the ale. And the tough old cuss continues to stalk up the hill, refusing to pull it out. As we begin to crest the hill, Orain encounters another goblin. Attempting to prove ourselves, we loose a single arrow. And although the goblin perhaps was already dead, we're still impressed by our own marksmanship. Just over the hill, we find another Aeliad ruin of Atatar, and Modron updates.
He's here somewhere. I know it.
He then resumes becoming our follower. We skirt around the ruins, attempting to find an entrance, finding a small spiral stairs to descend into the stone door that leads into Atatar proper. Once inside, we see the ruins are much more illuminated than the previous dungeon. Confirming our suspicion that the place is occupied, we find in a southwestern tunnel dead rats that look like they've been dispatched recently. However, taking a step forward, apparently Swingblades had done the job, and not Azani's men as we had presumed. Surviving the deadly gauntlet, we find to the southwest a small metal door and a bandit bowwoman who lies in wait. Are you okay, Modron? As we begin slinging arrows at each other, Modron, bafflingly, stands stalwart. This level of stoicism has never been seen before.
This ends here!
Searching the bowwoman's remains, we take the arrows from her corpse and see to the southwest by two pillars another bandit that is mid-patrol. Once on the lower level, we see Orain still refuses to pluck the multiple arrows that have found their way into his crutch, hoping he's already sired some children before this mission. Up the stone stairs to the southwest, we engage a Khajiit bandit standing solo in the next room. We then find further southwest a small set of stairs that lead into the next area called Atatar Halia Dagon. Seeing a Khajiit bandit mid-patrol in front of us, we then begin to stalk each of the remaining sentries.
This is the part where you fall down and bleed to death!
Ha ha! You move like a pregnant cow!
Where did you go? Come out where I can see you.
Why won't you?
I attack you.
Finding a push block in a room to the southwest, we feel our way around the snaking narrow hallway and into a larger room which holds a bridge. As we move to pass, Orain rushes ahead and the bridge collapses, with Modron left on the floor below and us to overcome the falling blade trap. Aiding Orain in dispatching the remaining critters, we then find a door to the next section named Atatar Halia Anga, and tell Orain we'll meet him on the other side. Orain dutifully meets us in the next area, and we hear two voices in the room ahead.
Hi.
Hello. Ancient waste rides of the Nine are scattered through the wilderness.
Reddens from the sound of it.
I've heard others say the same.
This ends here. Now you will know pain. You move like a pregnant cow.
If there's one thing we hate more than mages, it's Breton hedge wizards. Filthy bandits, always looking to rob somebody. Blackheart is in fitting company. Contending with a small army of bandits, we find ourselves in a northeastern room, and upon stairs lies a final axe-wielding guardian. Ascending the stairs, we find candles that line the room, and a small door to Atatar Luria. No doubt, Blackheart's den. Turning to Orain, he simply repeats.
He's here somewhere. I know it.
We then step inside and hear.
Don't worry about it, I guess. Just my eyes playing tricks on me. Damn rats. Always skirting around in the sun. Don't feel bad. No one lives forever. Show me what you've got.
Take that!
With the Red Guard bandit boss dead, our quest updates. Orain and I have found and defeated Azani Blackheart. Now, before we look over his corpse, we turn to Modron, who states,
Azani Blackheart is dead, and our brothers avenged.
Yeah, he's dead all right. Tavern time?
Dead, finally. Good work. Did you retrieve his ring? I want that as proof that the Blackwood Company didn't defeat him.
What ring?
Get the ring for me. We'll need it as proof.
Why the ring, Orain? We just do something Dark Brotherhood, like take his finger instead.
It's good we've killed him. I'll need his ring as proof that we did the job. We'll be talking.
Alright, you're no fun. Looking around the chambers, we find by a small desk an average locked chest. Inside, we find a two-handed sword, a book, Purloined Shadows, and 25 gold. Heading over to Blackheart's remains, we see near his body a fine-looking sword. And picking it up, we find it's called Sinweaver, an elven two-handed sword that is unique to Blackheart, but also boasts drain fatigue 10 points and fire damage 10 points on victim. More impressive when we loot Blackheart, although we don't forget to take his gold ring. We make sure to grab Azani Blackheart's elven armor, especially his cuirass, as this is, as stated by the unofficial wiki, the only place where an elven cuirass can be found in-game before level 15. And seeing as we're level 1, this is a phenomenal find. We also require the light armor for the master training quest, and it's difficult to find at higher levels. Now, before we continue on with the quest, I have a confession. Number 1, I'm a bit of a completionist, so not having the helm is annoying, but number 2, I don't really love the look of the elven armor aesthetic, though speaking to procuring a helm pre-level 15, a unique ancient elven helm can be found in Vartican, an Ayleid ruin, though this is a part of the Mages Guild questline, so I'm not going to go in there and show you that, as we still have to explore the Mages Guild in a future video series. However, just for argument's sake, let's put on the elven helm so that you can see the fit. Now, as I was looking at the armor, I used to think that it kind of was reminiscent of, say, Link's armor in Twilight Princess that was the Zora armor for swimming. There was like a frog-like aspect to the feet. Though that's silly of me, because when I was looking at the helm, I realized this isn't some weird fork for no reason on top of the head. These are wings. Which makes sense that there's a bird aesthetic, as you know, the Imperials are obsessed with their dragons because of Akatosh, while the Elves are obsessed with Oriel, which is their version of Akatosh, and it is represented by a bird, as we've seen in many Ayleid ruins and also their culture as a whole. So, I feel silly, you probably already know this, but it does make me actually appreciate the armor a lot more, and as I had promised previously, we will be upgrading our armor as we go along with the series, so now we have a new fit. We return to Orain, who questions.
His ring. Have you pried it from the coward's corpse?
Oh yeah, I got the ring, sans finger.
You've got it. Good. I'll use it to prove it was we, not the Blackwood Company, who killed him. Good work on this. Now get out of here. I'm going to head back to Coral. When there's more to do, I'll let you know.
We're then gifted 1 fame point and apparently no gold for tavern time, which is disappointing, and ask, so, any final words about Blackheart?
There's no more to say about him. He will not be missed.
I guess if this is an undercover mission, it's time to ask for duties, as I didn't make any gold, and I need gold for more drink. You see where this is going.
I don't have anything for you right now. Speak with Azan or Grokash. Get some more seasoning, and maybe I'll have something. Or perhaps you're ready for advancement.
Yes, advancement. I like this.
Your accomplishments are impressive. Because of this, I bestow upon you the rank of Warder of the Fighters Guild. Stay with it.
As Orain departs, we note in our journal, I have given the ring to Orain. This allows me to prove that it was the Fighters Guild who finally defeated Azani Blackheart. Orain wishes to make sure people know who truly defeated the Great Warrior and recognize the lies of Blackwood Company. We can then hear citizens of Coral spread rumors about Azani's defeat.
So, the Fighters Guild got Azani Blackheart. Blackwood Company said they did him, but apparently they were mistaken. Or stretching the truth, maybe. The Fighters Guild got Azani Blackheart's ring, not the Blackwood Company. Apparently, the Blackwood Company made the whole thing up.
And apparently some of Orain's confidants have learned about the surreptitious mission in the guild, as they can also be heard saying.
We lost Vitellis, and a lot of good men against Blackheart. Somebody must be pretty good to take him and all his people. It was our people who got to Azani Blackheart. But I can't talk about who. I promised. It's supposed to be a secret. I'm not talking, but everyone knows who's responsible.
And as we depart the Guildhall, this leaves us with one final question. Does this mean Valena Donton will officially sanction quelling the Blackwood Uprising? And will Orain be officially recognised as a hero for slaying Azani Blackheart and avenging her dead son? Soon, we'll find out. To begin the quest, a wandering scholar, we visit Anvil's Fighters Guild Hall and find its leader hacking away at a dummy with a two-handed axe, and he greets.
Well met.
Greetings, Azan. Any contracts going, perchance?
Good to see you're looking for more work. There's certainly more to be done. I need you to help Alante of Alinor.
Right. And I need you to explante what that means.
Alante is a scholar interested in researching Daedra worship. Meet her in Brittle Rock Cave, help her find the shrine, and keep her safe.
A scholar researching Daedra. It's a mage that wants to get to a Daedric shrine, isn't it?
That's what Alante is studying. Make sure she's safe while she does it.
Azan, you know I hate mages.
Go protect Alante. She's doing important research.
Heard any news from the other provinces?
As Azan rhythmically beats on the dummy, we find it hard to focus, as we note in our journal. Azan has given me a contract to escort Alante of Alinor, a scholar doing research on Daedra. I'm to meet her at the entrance to Brittle Rock Cave northeast of Anvil, and protect her while she explores inside. We then begin to hear rumours about this Alante, as people say.
This lady wants to study Daedra, so she buys a guild contract. You ever heard of anything so goofy? She's got no business poking around in Brittle Rock Cave. But the customer is always right, eh?
Exiting Anvil's Fighters Guild Hall, we check our map and see that Brittle Rock Cave lies north of the Gold Road in the heart of County Kavach. And so we travel to the nearby Brina Cross Inn. Taking our paint horse across the countryside, we mount the many undulating hills heading north-northeast until we find we have a straggler. As we dismount our steed to take care of the wolf, we see it has a new target and veers off to the left.
You move like a pregnant cow. Why won't you?
Our attempts to aid the woman garner less than favourable results, however. We soon feel much better knowing it was a bandit that met their end thanks to our new two-handed elven sword, Sinweaver. Seeing as we killed the bandit Azani Blackheart for said sword, it seems things have come full circle. With the second bandit succumbing to our sizable sword, we search her body and find no loot, no booze, and around the camp, the jugs are empty. By all noteworthy metrics, we basically did these bandits a favour. Returning to our paint horse, we ride hard northeast and find in a cluster of rocks a large outcropping with a wooden door snugly marking its entrance. Once inside, we see a lone Altma standing with her back to us. To our right is a battered stool, some small candles, and her effects bundled in a sack. Approaching the High Elf, she questions.
Ah, you must be from the Fighters Guild. Excellent. I'm looking forward to our investigation. Fascinating subject, these Daedra.
Yeah, fascinating. You must be Alante of Altenor.
I am Alante of Alinor.
That's what I said. I take it we're going to help you find a Daedric shrine in a cave.
My research shows there is likely a shrine in these caves. I'll need you to accompany me to the shrine. handle any difficulties. Stay close, please.
With our task at hand, we note in our journal, I found a latte of Eleanor in Brittle Rock Cave. She tells me she would like to travel to the bottom of this cave complex, as she heard there is a Daedric shrine there. She will lead the way, and I will protect her. Now, it should be noted that we can actually fail in protecting a latte, which has its own consequences. But first, let's explore the successful route. It should be noted as we follow the High Elf, this cave contains 11 wisp stalks, which are notable in their effects, especially in poisons. Rounding the first corner, we find ourselves in a small chamber with an opening to the surface, and Alante questions as we dawdle.
What can I do for you? We need to head to that shrine.
I don't mean to question you, but are you sure there's a Daedric shrine in here? Usually they're up above and places of debauchery for people to gather and whatnot.
Yes, let's investigate. And keep on your toes. Stay close, please.
Ignoring our latest order, we find on a ledge to our right a small chest containing a weak poison of feeble mind and 8 gold. It looks like people have been down in this cave. Perhaps there is a shrine in its bowels. Not that we want to particularly find it. As we move to keep up with the mage, she casts a spell, and we soon see why.
You'll never take me down! Why won't you? Show me what you've got!
Stunted scamps. Oh, this doesn't bode well if Daedra are lurking about. I wonder what these cultists have conjured up. Despite our concerns, Alante then briskly walks through to the western arm of the cave, and we follow behind through the cobwebs. Further ahead, the cave then descends downwards, and we find a small rickety wooden door. Behind said door, we find a stone slab and many skulls that line the walls. This seems to be a burial chamber of sorts. Perhaps somebody was burying the dead before the Daedra had overrun this place. No, that remains to be seen. Our ward then marches on back into the chamber whence we came and makes a hard left. And we see there's another chamber opening to the northwest, although we soon drop our torch as we see a now familiar figure in the distance.
Look out! I'm just warming up, you pathetic worm!
Contending with the two scamps, we then press forward, moving deeper into the bowels of the cave, and find a large open cavernous area with stalactites and stalagmites lining the ceiling and floor respectively. I hope I can't remember which one's which. In the gloomy distance, we see outlines of figures, now all too familiar to us.
Die, damn you!
After the scamps are contended with, we then head deeper into the cave, pressing forward until we find around the next bend something man-made that is guarded by more scamps.
Stay away!
After the first scamp is felled, we race back to Alante, and she exclaims before we can loot a chest.
Excellent. A fine example of a Daedric shrine. Sorry for the trouble getting here. Let's keep moving.
Thinking this is the end of our journey, we then find some small amounts of gold in the chest and see candles light an altar with a skeleton to its left. Approaching it, we find the Daedra they used to worship when it's none other than Molag Bal, Daedric prince of domination and other unmentionable acts of depravity. Heading to the eastern tunnel, we then find a dead end with another skeleton and some of their effects in the very easy locked chest. Trying to make sense of what has happened here, we believe this perhaps was a burial chamber of some sort originally. However, it was overrun by Daedric worshippers. They themselves had meddled in powers they could nary control, and once overrun with scamps, the followers all died, and somehow, in the scuffle, the chamber to the Daedra fell. Or perhaps a rival Daedra had summoned the scamps to aid in destroying a shrine to one of its hated kin. Whatever the reason, we need to get out of here. And so we meet up with Alante to take her to the exit, and she turns to inform.
I think I'll study this shrine a bit longer. You can make your way out here. I thank you again for your help. Please take this as a token of my thanks.
We're then gifted the book Morningstar Volume 1, a handy blade skill book. She then says,
A fine study to add to my research. I thank you for your help.
We then inquire, So, what do you think of this Daedric shrine on the ground?
I appreciate all of your help. Thank you.
I can tell you're not looking to leave at all, are you? Look, you're a mage, you do what you want, but let it be known these Daedra travel in numbers.
Imps. I hate 'em. Little buggers flitting around, tossing fireballs at you.
They're not imps, they're called scamps, though they do toss fireballs. You know what? I'll leave you to it.
Thanks again.
If we attempt to exit south via Brittle Rock's lower passages, it should be noted that this area contains a lot of minor loot chests, plus 11 Daedra, so it's probably not worth the hassle of clearing out more stunted scamps. However, exiting via a northwestern door, we find ourselves out in the Gold Coast country. And once again, embarrassingly, somehow I'm missing the boulder texture, so it just looks like a wooden door standing there. I don't know how to fix it. Thank you so much for the comments on how to fix it. I do need to take the time and roll the dice and try and replace the old missing textures. Returning to the Anvil Fighters Guild, Azan, still training, greets.
Should be helping out Alante by now. It's my pleasure. Please continue.
Well, I finished the contract. Alante is alive, eh? Oh, it's tavern time.
Finished? Excellent. Good work, guildmate. Here's your payment for the contract.
For our efforts, we receive 100 gold and 1 fame point.
He's not the smartest man, but he's a nice guy.
Rumours then begin to spread about our success, as guild members can be heard saying,
Azan says the Scholar Lady was lucky to get back alive, but Orion's new hard hand did just fine in a tough situation.
Which then begs the question, what happens if we fail the quest? Well, if we were to enter the cavern and some of the scamps had overwhelmed Alante in their fight, or perhaps an errant arrow accidentally found its way into a jugular.
Getting tired? Take that!
We note in our journal, Alante of Alinor has died. I should report this to Azan. Checking over the High Elf's body, we find she does not carry the skill book she gifted us, instead only holding in her inventory a silver dagger, some upper-class clothing, and 19 gold. Although we've perhaps done some good in stopping another irresponsible mage dabbling in Daedric plots. We return to Azan in the Fighters Guild Hall, and he's not too happy questioning.
Should be helping out Alante by now.
Well, the contract is technically fulfilled. Alante made it to the shrine. She didn't make it out of the cave. I don't know. She's a mage. Good riddance. Am I right, Azan? Come on. You won't miss her.
She's dead. What have you done? Of all the irresponsible... I'm very disappointed in you. You've let me down and your guild.
It's you.
Farewell.
Hi.
With his tongue lashing from Azan, we are given no reward for any of our efforts. Funnily enough, this isn't the first time we've encountered Alante, as she's present in Iberdat, a small cave just to the west of a Daedric shrine in Morrowind, and is actually surrounded by scamps and hostile to the player. So perhaps ending her studies before she can meddle with more forbidden Daedric knowledge is perhaps worth foregoing the reward. To begin the quest, the fugitives, we find the Chaden Hall guild leader, Burzgrokarsh, down in the basement, swinging his bulbous mace. Upon seeing us, he pauses to question.
What can I do for you, meat? Need something to do?
Yeah, I'm looking for a contract.
I've got something for you. Could be tough. There are some escaped fugitives for you to find, meat.
I don't know what you've heard, but I've never been to the Imperial prison. Or been in a prison break. Wait, what are you talking about?
Some real hard cases got out of the Breville prison. Been terrorizing the locals ever since. The watch is useless, so we step in. Get to it.
When you say hard cases, how many of them are we talking? 7?
Apparently, there are 3 or 4 of them. Real nasty from what I hear. You take care of them. Maybe you'll get lucky and they'll surrender. Find the fugitives. Make yourself useful.
As Karsh continues to taunt the air, swinging his knobbly green mace, we note in our journal, Burzgrokarsh has given me a contract to find and kill some fugitives from a prison break that have been menacing Breville. I should go there and see what I can learn. Leaving Karsh to his quote-unquote training, we exit the guild hall and head south, back to the marshy mass known as Breville. Once inside its walls and trudging down its sludge-laden streets, we find to our left the first inn, the Silver Home on the Water, to learn more about these fugitives. Once inside, we hear,
Greetings, Orc.
What have you been up to?
I ran into some goblins in the woods not long ago. Nasty little beast.
Horrid beasts. I hate the things.
Take care.
Stop talking. By what right do you disturb me?
Goodbye.
deciding who to speak to, the Breton huntsman or the ornery orc.
I'm listening. Please, go ahead.
We know it's an easy decision, and see Brokil Gros-Chateur, who questions.
Brokil Gros-Chateur, Lord High Warden of the Taps. Gilgondarin's most prized customer. I taste everything, over and over again.
Oh, Brokil, you're breaking my heart. That sounds like a job I want.
It's a terrible responsibility, being Breville's first citizen of the ale tub, but I suffer under the burden like a sure green orc.
Well, I'm sorry to distract you from your duties, my liege, but I was wondering if you'd heard anything of some fugitives. They're local, and, they've escaped prison. I guess that's what a fugitive is, right?
I'm not talking about them. Not to you. I barely know you. Be seeing you.
Brushed off by the Baron of Beer himself, we have a pang of jealousy, but also a sense of duty creeps back into our mind, as we need money for beer. A note in our journal. The residents of Breville are reluctant to speak about the fugitives for fear of retribution. Perhaps I'll have to persuade one of them to give me the information. Or perhaps not. Maybe we can go directly to the source of the prison break. And so we find ourselves at Castle Breville's entrance. Once inside, we make a hard right from the county hall and past the dining room down into the dungeon. However, we find the jailer nowhere to be found in his small office and opening the night chef's crew quarters. We're positive we've disturbed something we did not want to see. As the jailer looks down upon his relief while they sleep, he then turns over his shoulder to greet.
Tidings, citizen.
Hello there. Sorry to bother you.
What can I do for you, sir?
Well, I was looking to visit a prisoner. If, you can take a minute from your duties.
If you must. Don't try anything funny, though. I'll be following you.
The jailer then reluctantly follows us into the cells. However, as he barks threats on our heels like a chattering dog...
No touching the locks!
We check out each of the prison cells and find they're empty.
Don't get too close to the prisoners.
And we cannot see an escape route. Perhaps it was this jailer who neglected his duties for his other nocturnal activities.
Prisoners may not accept gifts.
It's only as we follow the corridor around to the hall to the south
I haven't got all day.
Do we make a shocking discovery. The jailer, looking happy at our shock at his handiwork, stands impatiently as we scan a torture chamber, complete with blood-stained tables, skulls, and different torture instruments proudly laid bare. I gotta say, I don't really blame the prisoners for trying to escape. It seems it's either escape in this corrupt city, or finding an untimely end on one of these tables. Having seen enough, we turn to the jailer. Any questions?
What can I do for you, sir?
I know that you had a couple of prisoners break out recently. Can you tell me anything about them?
Wish I had more to tell you about them, but I don't.
Clearly, this jailer does not want to share what has happened to them. Perhaps for fear of losing his job, embarrassment, or something more nefarious, but the look that he gives us tells us that we've pressed our luck already.
I haven't got all day.
Exiting the cells, we then return to Silverhome on the Water and seek out Brokill Gros Chateau once more.
Hello there.
As perhaps there is another way to learn of the prisoners. I know you don't want to talk to me about those fugitives, but I was wondering if the Lord High Warden of Taps himself couldn't use a little more money for his coffers.
We'll see. Thank you. How kind.
Now, you were saying about those escaped scallywags.
Sure, I know about them. Look, you didn't hear it from me, but rumor is they're hiding out in Bloodmane Cave. 4 of them. Bad news.
Don't worry, Brokill. It's between us.
You too.
As Brokill helps himself to some of Gilderon's more fine ale, thanks to our contribution, we note in our journal, I've persuaded one of Breville's citizens to tell me more about the fugitives. There are 4 of them. They are thought to be hiding in Bloodmane Cave. Exiting the city, we collect our paint horse from the nearby stable and skirt the Larcius River to the north that acts almost as a moat to Breville, seeing one of its large double-door entry ports that no doubt the prisoners would have escaped the dungeons and swam under before making their way to this nearby Bloodmane Cave, which we predictably find not far from the river itself, with a small rickety door embedded in a larger rock, the perfect place for an escaped fugitive's hideout so they can collect their thoughts and bearings before perhaps moving on, meaning we must move quickly. Inside the cave, we make our way down the tunnel and into a large cavernous area on the hunt for 4 errant fugitives. Although the fire is lit, the camp itself is vacant. There's not even booze in the stone cup, and it should be noted this cave is littered with different flora and also a lot of low-level chests holding miscellaneous items, sometimes a nice little healing potion, but mostly about 13 gold total. In the next area to the northwest, we find the room is filling with noxious gas, and there are 3 rope pull levers hanging from the ceiling. Activating any one of them has a boulder that blocks the southwestern passage. Move out of our way thanks to an unseen mechanism. Creeping into the passage, we see another cavern that is less lit, and one of the fugitives with our back to us.
Well, well, look who we've got here. You've made a big mistake. This is none of your business.
With the first fugitive dead, our quest updates, I have found and killed Hrolfgar. Apparently, there will be no negotiating. On his corpse, we find he was wearing fishing waders and a fur outfit, apparently about to set out to the lake to find some food, as it's probably not fun eating just mushrooms inside this cave. Looking around his campsite, we find, as promised, we discover small amounts of gold not worth mentioning. And so we head deeper into the caverns through a southwestern tunnel, and then find in a small clearing to the west of the room a chest that contains some gold and supplies, as well as barrel that contains some foodstuffs. Perhaps the fugitives have squirreled away food and may be attempting to stay in this hideout longer than first expected. Or perhaps the fugitives are making periodic hit-and-run stops on the scared citizens of Breville, becoming fat and accustomed to their new way of life. Enough for somebody to put out a contract and end their reign of terror. We enter the tunnel to the northwest and immediately see a sentry redguard who spots us to her own peril.
You there! Stop where you are! You shouldn't have come for us!
With the log trap she no doubt set turned against her, we note in our journal, I found and killed Ashanta, the second of the fugitives. Taking her lowly effects off her corpse, we head to the northeast and see her small camp that again holds little provisions, and continue on to the northwest and up into the tunnel, and through the wooden door to the Bloodmane Cave Labyrinth. As soon as we exit the door, we find ourselves in a cave with a low ceiling, and hear an aggressive voice above warn,
You shouldn't have come for us.
Although we can hear our assailant, we cannot see them, and find in the center of the room a hole that appears to open up to the level above. With high enough acrobatics, we then pull out our bow and begin our war of attrition against a rival archer.
You shouldn't have come for us.
With the third fugitive dispatched, we note, I have found and killed Dreet Lai. Taking the earthy ramp to the next level, we find the Argonian sprawled out by another hole that he no doubt guarded his camp at, and find on his person some iron arrows, which we use, and some superior steel arrows for the final fugitive ahead. As we exit the dank labyrinth the Argonian dwelled in, we find ourselves at a final camp, guarded by a vicious wolf. With the wolf taken care of, we see to the east, the cave grows misty, and heading downstairs, see it's not indeed mist, but smoke spewing forth from a horrific sight. But then we see a high elf looking at his creation, a bonfire with skulls skewered on spikes all around in a macabre display, and a skeleton chained to a makeshift rack, no doubt for their own nefarious purposes.
Well, well, look who we've got here! You've made a big mistake!
business! You've made a big mistake! You shouldn't have come for us!
With the final fugitive dead, we note, I have found and killed Enrion. And then, now that I've killed all of the fugitives, I should return to Burzgrokash for my reward. Plucking out arrows from the fiendish elf's carcass, we'll look over his handiwork a final time before exiting via an eastern passage. Travelling back to Grokash and Cheydinhall, he appraises.
Shouldn't you be in Breville, being useful? You've got a contract to take care of. Why are you talking to me?
Yeah, the prison break didn't go quite as well as they thought.
Took care of all of them, did you? And you're still alive. Fantastic. You're full of surprises. Here's your payment. Good work.
We then receive 100 gold and 1 fame point. Asking about advancement, Burz surprisingly responds.
You've been doing a good job, and under a lot of scrutiny. I've been authorized to promote you to the rank of Guardian. Good work. I understand Urien is looking for you again. Get to Coral and speak with the man. Take care.
With our job done and 100 septims in our pocket, we return to Silverhome on the water, only to hear our dispatching of the fugitives have already made their way to the locals.
Those guys that broke out of Breville jail were tough customers, but the Fighters Guild got them, didn't they? I bet someone sold the Breville jailbreakers down the river. How else could the Fighters Guild have found their hideout?
To begin the quest, the Trolls of the Forsaken Mine, we return to Coral's Fighters Guild Hall. Inside, we find local contract giver and gruff guardian of the hall, Modron O'Rain, greets.
Well met.
Modron, how are you? I've run out of beer money and I'm looking for duties.
I've got another job for you. It's a sensitive one. I need you to find Varanus Daunton.
Varanus Daunton? Why does that name sound familiar?
I sent him on a mission to Forsaken Mine. He and some others were supposed to clear the place of trolls. Haven't heard back from them in days. I want you to go check it out. I don't need to tell you how sensitive a matter this is. Get moving and report back to me as soon as possible.
It sounds like you're in a bit of trouble. What happened at this Forsaken Mine?
We'd been contracted to clear the place of trolls. It was a tough job, but I felt the men I sent were up to it. I want to know what happened. You can do it.
Leaving O'Rain our quest updates, Modron O'Rain has given me another duty to perform. A band of fighters was contracted to clear the Forsaken Mine of trolls, but none of them have been heard from, including Varanus Daunton. I am to go investigate.
Get moving.
Previously, ahead of the Forsaken Mine job, guild members will mention a contract involving Varanus and somewhere called Blankenmarch.
I think Urien is planning to send Varanus out on the Blankenmarch contract. I'm betting Valena is not happy about it. If she knows.
Now, that name is very important to remember as it doesn't appear in this quest, but it originally was supposed to, and we will cover that after exploring the Forsaken Mine. But for now, heading south to the morassy marsh known as Leowin, we follow the road that skirts the Nibbin and see not far from the city walls a small cave outcropping. Heading closer, we make a grisly discovery, as several human heads have been impaled on spikes. A fair warning for those foolish enough to enter. Once inside the tunnel, we rush over to a nearby body and find it's not Daunton, but instead one Ariante. It seems a high elf has succumbed to their wounds, though what killed them, we're unsure of. Making our way to the next section of the abandoned mine, we find more Fighters Guild bodies, and before we can check their identity, a savage troll bursts forth from the shadows. Barely able to fight off the brutish beast, we can now fully appreciate the display of skulls as a warning out front. Now, it should be noted as we search the northern section of the mine, it is littered with Fighters Guild members that happen to be named. However, although we can find multiple sets of iron armor, none of the named Fighters Guild members can be seen before this quest, and so they've only been generated to illustrate the massacre that had taken place. After dispatching a few greedy rats, attracted by the allure of fresh meat from the many corpses, making our way south back into the original mine shaft, in which we were ambushed by the savage troll, we instinctually know this is its lair and begin to skirt its winding tunnels, finding another reinforced mining area that boasts, outside of the many bodies of Fighters Guild members, a dead Blackwood Company member sprawled out in a pool of its own blood. It's here we find on the dead Blackwood Company member a full suit of Blackwood armor, including shield. This heavy armor is between Dwarven and Orcish in quality and therefore can be particularly valuable for low-level characters such as ourselves. Regarding the Blackwood scum's identity, it's human, and not beast folk as they had once claimed they only had taken into their ranks, meaning the numbers are probably growing at an astronomical rate, far beyond what they can bolster with the local beast folk of Leowin. Worse yet, why are the Blackwood Company present when the Fighters Guild have been contracted to kill some trolls? We ready ourselves for a confrontation, donning their armor, just in case we can get the drop on a few of their members. With the dark armor donned, we make our way northeast and down into the Forsaken Mine's lost passages. Our odds of finding Varanus Daunton alive are beginning to look grim. Inside the lower passages, we decide to test our new spiky shield on a meandering rat. Could never have guessed this would be the catalyst for all hell to break loose. Overwhelmed by the trio of trolls, our goal of finding Daunton is secondary to our only edict: survive. Attempting to outrun the trolls, we'd slip on one of the rocks, falling down to the bottom of the ravine. Dispatching the local rat, we look up and realize, despite the trolls having the high ground, perhaps due to their dim intelligence, we have a momentary reprieve and perhaps the advantage. With the trolls all dead, or at least we hope, We head southwest, wounded and feeling our way through the dark tunnel, which, as we make our way further into a small opening, we spark our torch, stepping over the dead rat we just dispatched, and find the body of a male in full steel armor that looks mostly unblemished compared to their companions, and realize I found Varanus Daunton dead. I should look for clues as to what happened here. Looking at the crumpled corpse of poor Daunton, we cannot help but feel bad for his mother and for Modron Orain. It's then we see, a handful of steps away to the west, Edward Hodge, an Imperial man who dons leather and perhaps is a scout. Returning to Daunton, we collect his effects for Orain and find on his body a bloody journal, no doubt a clue to what has transpired here. And it reads, "Many of the pages of this journal have been shredded or are too covered in blood to be legible. Sundus, it has been 2 weeks since Vitellus's death, and I fear that Mother will never truly accept the fact that he is gone. She visits his grave nightly, though I do not believe she knows I have seen her go. She speaks to him there, apologizing for sending him on his last mission. I know in my heart that he would have sought no other end. Better to die fighting for the honor of the guild than to waste away in a life of relative safety. Midas, another day of barracks duty. It's been a full month since I've been given a contract, any contract. My time is spent polishing weapons and training with the new boots. Edward and I have spoken at length about this. His reasoning, as always, is sound. Mother fears for my safety, and for the safety of the guild. This is a terrible weight for her to bear. Perhaps when our numbers have risen, she will once again feel comfortable allowing me to perform my duties. Maundus, thank the gods for Edward. I fear without him I would go mad. His constant companionship keeps me hopeful that one day I will be returned to active duty. Until then, we have each other. He has willingly foregone lucrative contracts in order to help me pass the days. A truer companion I could not imagine. Loridus, some days I question whether or not I'm fit to be a guild member. Perhaps Mother's fears for my safety, not because of Vitellus, but because of my own abilities. Am I a failure in her eyes? Does she believe me to be less of a man than Vitellus? Tertus, freedom! Finally, I got a contract. I was sent with one of our newer members to investigate a disappearance in Nonwell Cavern. It was nothing glamorous, but I'm glad for the opportunity to see some action. I doubt, however, that Mother even knew about the contract, as the order came directly from Orain. It is good to see that he still has faith in my skills and my ability to keep that new boot alive. Loridus, again, nothing. It seems my only hope is that Orain will find another contract for me. Though contracts are harder and harder to come by with the increasing presence of the Blackwood Company in Cyrodiil. Edward and I have spoken of them over breakfast this morning. He believes them to be nothing more than a rogue mercenary band. I fear he is as naive as he is beautiful. The Blackwood Company bears watching. Date obscured. I've been given another contract, clearing out some trolls that have been troubling miners, and Edward is accompanying me. I can't think of better news. This is exactly what I need. Date obscured. Edward is dead, along with the rest. I fear I will follow shortly. The fighting grew heavy with the trolls, but was under control. Then, the Blackwood Company. They were like madmen. Trolls, men, myrrh fell to their blades. It was inhuman. Text unreadable. Blackwood Company gone, quick as they came. Edward fought bravely. All did. Rest now. I hear trolls. I'm sorry, Mother. With this terrible revelation we note in our journal, I have found a journal that Varanus Danton kept during his final days. In it, he described how the mission went well until the Blackwood Company arrived. They battled, and he survived, gravely wounded. It appears he finally succumbed to his wounds. I should report this to Aurane. Feeling bad, we cannot claim Varanus' corpse safely to bring back to his mother to give him a proper burial. Instead, we leave the two for the rats, dragging poor Edward closer to his confidant and special friend. We see this is where Varanus had dragged himself all the way through the tunnels, blocking the path on his way through, however slowly bleeding out. Exiting the cavern with this disturbing revelation, we find our troubles have just begun. Chased by a contingent of enraged, savage trolls, we desperately make our way to the gates of Leyawen, in hopes the city guard will aid us in dispatching the brutish foes.
Let's get this over. Do your worst.
With the Lorexus Calidus claimed by the trolls, we find the last of them are dead, and make our way slowly back to Coral, licking our wounds all the way.
Let me handle this.
Inside the guild hall, Modron exclaims,
You're back. What have you found out?
I'm sorry, Danton he's dead, and I have his journal. I think you should read it.
Dead? Dead? What happened? A journal? Let me see that. Blackwood Company. Bastards. Rank amateurs. I don't like to think how Valena is going to take this news. He was my responsibility. I'll be the one to tell her. I want you to lay low for a while. Talk to Azan or Grokash. Let me deal with Valena. You've still got a career ahead of you. We'll get through this.
How goes it?
Fantastic. Thanks for asking.
True to his word, Aurane departs from the Fighters Guild Hall, and we hear later that he had confronted the Danton matriarch about what happened, and we soon hear, following Varanus' death, the citizens of Coral and guildmates will quickly begin to reflect on the tragic events and future of the Fighters Guild.
So Varanus is dead. Modron Orion is gone. We are in real trouble. I bet the Blackwood Company had something to do with Varanus Danton's death. Modron Orion got kicked out, and Valena Danton thinks only about her dead sons. The Fighters Guild is finished. Varanus, the Fighters Guild's son and heir, is dead, and Valena kicked Modron Orion out of the guild. The Fighters Guild is falling apart. With Modron Orion gone, and Valena Danton mourning her lost sons, who's left to lead the Fighters Guild?
But what of the Blankenmarch rumor that we heard originally? Well, apparently the town of Blankenmarch can be found near Vayond, as we'd only hear about said town after Azani Blackheart was taken care of, but before completion of Trolls of Forsaken Mine. Inside Blankenmarch, we can meet the 3 town members: each of which have no purpose in the end game. We find close by there is a unique Ayleid ruin that is quite extensive called Veyond, populated by its own unique leveled trolls identified as Asklan trolls, much like the trolls at Forsaken Mine. And there's even a marker inside the ruin called Dead Varanus Marker, present in Veyond Gandrasel, the last cell of the dungeon. Obviously this was scrapped, perhaps they didn't want to keep retreading Ayleid ruins after Blackheart. Who knows, it's almost a shame that Blankenmarch has not been explored more, or the Veyond ruins, as quite frankly the outside is quite a striking area. With both the Danton boys dead and Orain ejected from the guild due to his hand in Varanus' demise, we find ourselves not welcome in the guild hall in Coral, and with our tenuous standing within the guild, must continue to look for work somewhere else. But what of the ever-growing threat of the Blackwood Company, complicit in Danton's death, and perhaps the destruction of the guild's standing and reputation in Cyrodiil, if Blackwood is left unchecked? Well, that's a story for another time.